Today we're talking Saw X. You already know it's not right to go see with your family, but is it right for date night? Stay tuned to find out. Hello and welcome to Couple Chat.
Where we
Parents.
discuss topics for you.
Parents. I'm Matt.
I'm Jackie. Let's chat.
So tonight we're talking Saw X. And I have not seen the last two, but I don't consider those canon because, you know.
I don't know what their plan is, to be completely honest.
I don't know what they're doing. However, we always make sure to watch Saw around this time of year because, you know, the spooky factor. And I really thought that this was a good time to just let's chat about it.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw it literally last night.
Yeah.
And we got to go on a date night with my brother and sister-in-law, and it was awesome. Like,
yeah.
I've been to the movies with my brother a lot over the years, and my sister-in-law as well. You've never been with either of them, I don't think?
No.
Yeah.
It was great. And it was nice to have a double date because I can't remember the last time we did that with them. Especially after the kids came, there's no double dating in parenting.
No.
Oh, wait, that's for another episode.
I guess we're going to talk about that, right?
One in the future, I hope.
Yeah. But yeah, so we had the opportunity to have a date night, and we saw X.
What do we go to see? Saw. Seesaw. Get it? No.
We've made that joke all the time anyway.
We did.
We do. My brother and I do. We've been making that joke for years. And we've always said, like, there should be a seesaw trap. Like, why hasn't there been, you know? So
we were discussing that before the movie, in fact.
Yes.
We were driving to the theater being like, you know what? We've never seen a seesaw trap.
Right.
Like, there's never been a trap on a playground or
as far as I remember,
like that before.
They did. Oh, you know what they did once in Saw 6? They had the merry-go-round thing. Not like a carousel, but you know, like in playgrounds.
The spinning thing.
Yeah, they did that.
Oh, yeah, they did do that.
But never a seesaw. No. Maybe it was too on the nose.
I mean,
I don't know. Ryan George, if you want to make a video about saw traps, like John is in a room with all his disciples and they're just going over different traps. And, you know, one of the guys should be like, oh, how about a seesaw? I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? And he's like, no, it's too on the nose or something like that.
Sure. Ryan George. Yeah. Take notes from Matt right now.
Yeah, Ryan George, because I know you're watching this.
Hopefully someday. We like you a lot.
Yes, you're amazing.
Very. Wow.
It was not super easy, barely an inconvenience to set up a podcast, but
worth it.
Yes. I mean, it can be. It's all about motivation and consistency, guys.
Yep.
And we haven't had a lot of either in a while, but we're gonna now. We're gonna now, right?
We're making it work.
Yeah,
we're making it work.
We're gonna do it. Anyway, back to Saw X.
Yes.
You haven't seen the last two, so you haven't seen Jigsaw or Spiral. Right. Honestly, after seeing this movie, you don't need to. Totally, completely unrelated. So, being a girl, you know, is this right for date night? Like, what do you think from your perspective? Because it's a horror movie, but it's also like, you know, it's a gore movie. Like, see, I never really consider, like, Saw has some scary moments to it. If, like, that kind of stuff scares you, like, a few jump scares here and there. But, like, they've done it so many times. It's become, like, a trope now. Like, it's cliche. Like, we all know, oh, the pig mask. And, you know, like, we know it's always in a car. They're always going to get them in a car. Like, how many times did they do that? It's every time now. Yeah. It's like they don't even try to be different now. It's just like, just they're going to run to a car, get them in the car. It's easy that way. Like, I guess it makes sense. Like, you know. But anyway, so it's not really horror. It's gore. You know, like this Saw is just all gore. You know?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, as we were saying earlier, we watch this every Halloween. We at least watch the first one. So for me, the first one's not bad because, like, yeah, there's the gore factor and there's certain parts that I'm like, that hurts. Oh my gosh, I can't think of that. Like, And there were definitely those moments in this one. However, I watched Game of Thrones. I've watched other like gore and like Hostel and those things.
Right.
So for me personally, this wasn't above the norm and hard to watch, but I take that as part of the universe that we're watching. It's so funny because everything's a universe anymore. And
well, it used to be franchises.
Right, franchise, right. 10 movies later.
Yeah, but I think universe sounds better in marketing, so everybody likes to use that word now.
Yeah.
But
whatever. So for me, I know what to expect when I go into these movies. Yeah. So it doesn't really affect me as much. And as you said, there's things that you're expecting and then, oh, it happened. But I mean, I thought it was great. Although, if you are a person who doesn't like gore, then it is a good thing for date night because you get really close to the person you're with. Like, oh my gosh, let me block my eyes and jump into your lap and and close my eyes and put them in your shoulder,
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because, if we go back in time, 15, 20 years to when we were teenagers, like, I mean, that was the thing. Like, you wanted to go to the movies with a girl and you usually picked a horror movie.
Yeah.
And it was just what you did as a teenager. It was like, hey, let's go see the new, Jason versus Freddy in our time period,
Yeah.
Like people want
Freddy versus Jason.
Sorry. Honestly, I love Nightmare on Elm Street. Hated Friday the 13th. So, not a big fan. So
I'm a big Nightmare fan too. I mean, I could give or take Friday the 13th. I really don't care for Mike Myers. But Freddy versus Jason is my jam.
I know. I think that's kind of why I mentioned it. Because
I know.
Because, like, if Jackie and I met in high school and the Freddy versus Jason came out, that would have been like, oh, yeah, I'll go see that with you.
100%. And he would have been the one screaming in my shoulder.
No. Those movies are so cheesy, man.
I know.
But anyway, so the point is, like, as a teenager, that's what you did. You went to see a horror movie with the girl you liked. On my side of things.
Or the boy you liked.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know from your perspective, like, why? Why go see, like, was it you were interested in those types of movies? Or was it just, oh, I know I could, like, hide, like you just said,
I think it's a little bit of both, depending on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also if I'd never seen it before and the person I was with had seen it before, it was like, haha, I kind of, I know what I'm expecting. Like, the first horror movie I ever remember seeing with a significant other was The Hills Have Eyes. And that freaked me out. And we were in a dark basement and it was just like we were with a group of people and everyone's doing the jump scare thing. I didn't even see it in theaters and it still freaked me out.
Yeah.
Me, I have that problem where I imagine things while I'm sleeping or I close my eyes and I see it still. So like I had a hard time after that movie. But some movies don't bother me really.
Well, it's funny because you mentioned you didn't see that in a theater, but sometimes it's scarier to watch something in a home or even your own home because now you're watching a horror movie and maybe it's taking place in somebody's house or whatever the case is. And you start, like you said, you start looking into the shadows in your house and you start looking into other rooms. Oh, hey, let's pause the movie. I got to go to the bathroom. And then like the walk to the bathroom is even scary. So like I hear you
turn on every light in the house.
I can't even remember the first horror movie I watched with a significant other. I don't know. It's just, like I went to the movies with girls, but you know what? It's funny. Maybe I didn't really have that experience. I went and I saw a romantic comedy.
Yeah. So see, here's the coin.
Yeah.
You either have the guy who's like, yeah, I'm going to scare the, stuff out of her and get her to lean into me and really guarantee, that kiss. Or you get the guy who's, oh, you choose. It's okay. I'll go see whatever you want. And that's where you fall in.
I guess so. Well, I don't know if it was that, but like I remember I don't even know the name of the movie now, but it was some Amanda Bynes.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Really, I mean, how many romantic comedies was Amanda Bynes in?
Was it the one in Paris?
Something like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to see that. It was like middle schoolish.
Sure.
And yeah, I kissed a girl in the theater to that movie.
There you go.
So, but anyway, you agree, like, this is a date night type of movie.
Sure.
More for like teenagers, which
Yeah.
is kind of cool because we were able to like jump back into that feeling, is like teenagers again. Saw kind of makes you feel that way, and but it's fun. It's like fun, dumb horror. But you know what? I don't know if you felt this way, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it, but I felt that this really was a smarter Saw movie than most. The writing was on point. The acting was pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, dude, Tobin Bell has always been great as Jigsaw, but this time, really, the critics have been saying it too, but like, really, he's on a whole new level. But it's not just him. The whole cast.
It wasn't like B-movie, horror film, like, where did they get these actors? Like, no, everyone was all-star cast. It was actually pretty crazy this time. Yeah. They didn't get some randos. I mean, I don't know. I guess they did, but like it didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a B-rated horror film.
Yeah, even everyone involved in the traps.
Right.
You really felt their not just their pain when they're going through situations, but like they're pleading and they're begging and just even before that too. I don't know, everything about the cast was good this time.
Yeah.
It's not always like that with Saw movies. It's not always like that with horror movies in general.
Right.
Like you don't always have a great cast, but it's not because they don't need to sell that.
Right.
Like the acting isn't the reason you go see a horror movie. It's the gore and the scares and things like that. So like the acting doesn't really need to be that great.
Right.
I think this day and age though, like, I don't know, we have such a higher standard of certain things.
As a society?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. But then, like you said, you still have those teenagers going to the films just being like, yeah, let's scare her.
Yeah.
So...
But, we're all content creators now.
Sure.
Like if you look at it that way, pretty much everyone in the back of their mind says, hey, I want to be a content creator in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not their main career, or maybe they just want to do it on the side, or maybe they do want it as a career. But like, I think that because we're all in front of cameras all the time,
sure,
things are different now. So it's like, maybe there aren't as many bad actors anymore. Could be changing the tide a little bit when it comes to that.
Were they supposed to be bad actors? Like, was that the point maybe previously? I mean, what's crazy is I know. What's crazy is because like the reason why we went to see this film was because of the rave reviews. I mean, the fact that this film has the highest rating out of all 10 Saw movies, and I mean, give me your opinion, but like the first one only has a 50%, and that's the highest rating except for this film out of all 10. That's insane to me.
I think this one has like an 83%.
And
that's
it started out
crazy.
high. It started out at like 87 when we first like considered going to see it.
Right.
So like, I mean, what do you think?
The whole problem always is like, sometimes you really can't take critics' reviews on things. And I guess maybe that's why here we are. I mean, not exactly normal people. Like we both work in video and film and theater and things like that. So like, we're not like the average moviegoer.
Right.
But we're not reviewers.
Yeah.
Like we're not going out there just as a movie critic and reviewing movies. Like that's not our career path, So coming from that filmmaking standpoint, I could understand why this one's more highly rated than the others and that's where it all comes down to. It's the acting. Mm-hmm. There's two things that make a good movie, and people don't realize this. There's really only two things. Yeah. The acting and the writing.
Right.
That is it.
Yeah.
Everything else will fall in line if you have the right budget and you have a crew. Like you don't even have to have a great crew. If you have a crew and the right budget, you'll make a decent movie.
Yeah.
But those two things are key. And that's why producers are so picky about scripts.
Right.
Because if a script is bad, it's just bad. Sometimes acting can't save a bad script. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it can. But like those two things are key. If those two things aren't good, your movie's going to suck most of the time.
Yeah.
So if you go back to these other Saw films, the majority of them are fall into that B horror genre where they're poorly rated because the acting's bad and the writing's bad. And that's just the way it is. Like, they're well-produced films.
Yeah.
You know, we've watched all of them. They're well-produced. The traps look really good.
The prosthetics are astounding.
Phenomenal.
I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
It's insane what they did this time. But like
Insane.
other times too, they've done it crazy.
Yeah. This time too realistic for some moments. Like, I'm not that squeamish, but like there were certain parts where it was getting to me even.
Yeah. I could feel you.
Yeah.
Like kind of just like
It's too much.
ah.
So it's funny. I'm totally like moving around here, but it's funny. Like for me with Saw, I'm not a big horror movie fan. And maybe that's why I don't have that moment in my teenage years where I was like, let's go see a horror movie. Cause I didn't care really.
Right.
I like Saw because of the story.
Right.
I think Saw has a really awesome story and they built a great world around this character of John Kramer and Jigsaw. I just think it's awesome. And they always find a really cool way to bring in this hook at the end. Just this interesting plot twist that, yeah, it gets a little cheesy as the movies go on. And it's like, okay, you know. But at the same time, it's still like, it's just that surprise. You're always excited to see what happens and why that happens. But yeah, so I think that's always been the problem with Saw movies in the past and most horror movies is the writing and the acting.
Mm-hmm.
So this time, as we've already stated, those two things were stellar.
Yeah.
You know, there were certain times the writing was a little cheesy, like it still felt Saw-ish, but the actors were so good.
Yeah.
Every single one of them was so good that like they could sell those cheesy lines anyway.
Right.
So that helped. And the story was phenomenal. But what's really funny is even though the story was so good this time, everything was pretty predictable. Do you feel that way?
For the most part. Yeah. Well, like I said, so with these movies, we have these typical jump scares. You were saying before, like we kind of can see, oh, they're getting in a car. Where's the pig mask, you know?
Right.
And for me, it's one of those things where they're placing this in the timeline where it was so early on that, yes, for us as viewers, we see it as a trope or repeated thing that they're doing. However, what I think they were trying to do is just play on the fact that they're new to this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not 10 films later. So for us, even though we felt it was predictable, this was still in the early stages of John's work and what he was trying to do. So I think that's why a lot of it seemed predictable and kind of like it wasn't as jump scary and frightening.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that for me. And then with the traps, I mean, there was a twist and they did kind of throw you for a loop there because it was like, oh, we've never seen that before. And that was kind of cool.
They did do a lot of that.
Because for me, it was one of those things where how are they going to change Saw? 1, to make that rating that high. And 2, to keep me interested. And 3, there's still so many more answers to questions I didn't even know I had.
Right.
So that was cool for me. And I think that's part of the whole, yes, this one was more predictable and wasn't as jump scare or whatever, but it fits. Like, I bet there's a better chronological order, movie viewing order now because you can put Saw X in between 1 and 2 and it makes sense.
Yeah. Because
of the trajectory that everyone is on and how everything played out. So for me, there were a few things where I was like, all right, here we go. And it's like, they did it so well that it like fit in. And yeah, it may not have been as scary, but at the same time, again, in my mind, as the actor involved in like the creative process, it made me realize, oh, they're trying to play it off as they're still new at this. This isn't John and Amanda 10 years later, 20 years later, even though in reality it is them.
Right.
This is
they're
them.
both dead.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't like it's not that span of a time from their first game to wherever they end up dying in the games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's funny that you say that because I never took that into consideration. See, this is the one issue with the movie, I guess, and I feel like maybe they should have established that. But they don't do a good job telling you where this takes place in the chronological order of Saw.
Right.
I only understood that afterwards. I looked deeper into it because, to tell you the truth, as you said, we really only saw this because of the reviews.
Right.
I was done with Saw. Jigsaw was terrible. Spiral was even worse. They thought they were trying to do something new and like change things up with Chris Rock and Sam Jackson. Like, they were fine in it. See, that's what's funny. Both things weren't good. The actors, awesome. Sam Jackson and Chris Rock, they did a pretty good job, but the writing was so bad and the story was terrible that like it couldn't hold up the movie how good they were. And that's the funny part. It's like the producers were trying so hard to like keep Saw alive. Right. And like, oh, this script's really bad. But if we get Sam Jackson and Chris Rock in here, maybe this movie will be good.
Did he say his line? Did he say the words?
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Of course he did.
Of course.
Yeah. You're referring to MFer?
Yeah. His typical.
Yeah, of course.
This,
Yeah. I don't even remember exactly when it was, but yeah.
He even gets it into Marvel, man. Yeah. I mean, that man is a genius.
He never said.
It's his calling card.
He almost says it.
I know that. I'm saying, though, like, they even let him slip in most of it.
Well, isn't it crazy that you would think Sam Jackson would have been the first person to say it in the MCU, but it was Chris Pratt, of all people.
Yeah.
He was the first one to drop the F-bomb.
Crazy.
Yeah.
This many movies later, too.
Right. Anyway,
back to Saw.
Yeah. I mean, I know Chris Rock was a producer on Spiral. So, like, obviously that's, you know, he had a bigger involvement than just acting in it. But the story was just bad. The writing was bad. So being that they didn't establish the fact that where we were in the timeline, I looked afterwards to find out. And it made me think a little differently about it. Because as you said, you know, like, there's some moments in this movie where they give you a different John and a different Amanda because they're still a little green around the gills with this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Like John, if you look at the first Saw movie, he's only done this a few times up to this point. Like the game still that he puts on in Saw X, it's still very elaborate.
Sure.
But you can tell at points it's like, oh, interesting. Like he kind of messed that up a little bit. Or like this happens in a way that he wasn't expecting. Like there's certain situations where it's like, he wasn't prepared as much as he would be in the future films or the previous films. And there's, you know, obviously we're not here to spoil anything, but there's one very particular thing that happens towards the end of this film.
He did not see.
No.
No.
John was stumped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really an interesting turn and not what I was expecting.
No.
So I guess that's where the twist came in, but it wasn't played as the, you know, the Zepp moment like the other films. But yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting film.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah. But anyway, so Saw X. If you want to get tight and cozy with your significant other on a date night,
you should see Saw X.
Oh man. But
I like being able to say seesaw.
We saw Saw.
We saw Saw.
We saw all the Saws.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jackie hasn't seen Saw all the Saws.
I haven't seen Jigsaw, so I didn't see all the Saws in that one trap.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm Matt.
I'm Jackie.
Here are the Hahns signing out.
Thank you so much for listening to Couple Chat. Make sure to subscribe to us on Spotify or YouTube Music and check out our YouTube page to see this episode in video. Thank you to Hahn Films for editing and producing this episode. Talk to you soon.